Happy Thursday, everybody. I pray all is well. My name is Michael Gibson, and I'm talking about why I go to church. If you've been following me for some time, then you would have known that I was talking about why I go to church. But thank you for everyone that may tune in, everyone that may stop by. I pray that you all are having a blessed week thus far. Today, I wanted to talk about that this doesn't have to be your normal. Right now, people are adjusting to a new way of life. A new way of life because, as you all know, if you live on the place called Earth, there is a crisis going on. But I want to encourage you that out of the midst of crisis comes creativity because inside of every problem, there is an answer, there is a solution. And I believe that if we look to God, that we can get our answers and that we can get our solutions. So I just wanted to encourage everybody to hold on, don't let go. Help is on the way. Now, you must understand that the help that is on the way is you. Yeah, you are the help. So don't think when I say help is on the way that someone else is coming to save you. I want to let you know that we are in a season where we have to kind of recognize that we should save ourselves. Yeah, we should try to save ourselves. So recognize that we are the help. I'm reminded of a story. I don't even know the genesis of the story. I just know that the story. And it's about a storm that came. A storm was coming. And there was a gentleman inside the house or a family inside the house, but it's a person was inside the house and the forecast came and they had announced to get out of the house. Get out of the house because a storm is coming, a hurricane is coming. And the gentleman said, "Nah, I'm going to stay. I'm going to weather out the storm." So the guy went and boarded up his windows and did the type of stuff that one would do to protect their home in the midst of a storm. Then the rain started coming, and you could see that the water was beginning to rise. And a rescue team came and basically said, "Look, you need to evacuate. Streets are getting flooded. Things are turning bad." And the guy kept saying, "God is going to bless me. God is going to take care of me." And then that rescue team left, and the waters began to rise even further. So not only is it's up to his porch, now it is invading his first floor. So the gentleman proceeds to go upstairs to the second floor. And the helicopter is now, they're sending out search and rescue, trying to find the people, trying to save the people. And the helicopter comes, and the guy says, "I'm going to stay right here because God is going to provide for me." Lo and behold, the helicopter leaves, the guy dies. He wakes up and he's with God, and he asks the simple question: "God, why didn't you save me?" He asked that question: "God, why didn't you save me?" And what God begins to tell the gentleman, "Well, I did try to save you. You just refused to accept the saving. Yeah, I wanted to save you, but you just refused to accept my help." And the guy was like, "What are you talking about? I was faithful. I kept proclaiming to you, to the people, that God was going to save me." And then God politely reminded him, "Great God afternoon, Apostle Penn." God's reminded that gentleman, "Well, I sent the forecast and I told you that the storm was coming, but you didn't take heed." Then, as the water began to rise and some of the streets began to flood, I sent a team of people to ask you to leave your home, and you didn't want to leave. Then finally, I sent a helicopter, search and rescue, to come and save you, and you rejected it because you didn't want to leave. So now that's why you're here with me. So the moral of the story is God comes and helps and provides guidance in mere people. Yeah, he sends mere people to help. So this guy wanted to know why he was with God. He was with God because he refused the help when God sent it. God sent help 3 different times, but he refused to listen. So that's just a little side note, a little side story. But I wanted to just come before you today and let you know that this doesn't have to be your normal. Because right now, I see a lot of people posting, and I feel the same way a little bit. Man, I'm in the house. This is boring. I don't know what I'm going to do. But last Sunday, when I was at service, my heart just began to get real heavy. Got real heavy because I recognize that people, when they are left to their own devices, it's very easy to get weary when you get stuck in a routine of commonplace. And the reason why I wanted to bring this subject today, that this doesn't have to be your new normal. The reason why I say that, because this, I feel in my spirit, for me personally, I begin to kind of evaluate when we have a routine that's external. An external routine would be like going to school. That's a routine that our children have. A routine that our children has, or that we have, is going to work. Another routine could be going to gym. Then some of us, our routines are taking our kids to different sports activities. And because we have the schedule set, it helps our day goes along. It helps our week go along. So we're like, okay, this is the day. Blessings to you, Diane Williams Brown. And so we have the routine, and what that does, it keeps us going. Like, it's easy to remember what day of the week it is. So like now my son was like, what's today's date? I thought it was this day. I thought it was that day. That's because we are now in a season where we are not being held by a schedule. So it's very easy for us now to get off schedule because we're not being guided by a schedule. And what I want to encourage you today, children of God, believers in God, keep your schedule with God. That's why I said this doesn't have to be your normal. Because right now, I'm not getting up early in the morning because I'm not going to work like most people. They're not going to work, so you're not getting up early in the morning because you don't have to go to work. Now, some of us, we used to work out before we went to work, or some of us, we would get our coffee, we would get our donuts, we would get our juice, we would go online, whatever it was. And that was our routine. And that routine kind of helped us settle our day. That routine kind of grounded us, so to speak. And for our kids, it was like, okay, we're going to school, we're stopping here, we get on the bus, I got this time to unwind. Now the kids are stuck with mom and dad all the time. And now the kids, because they are stuck with mom and dad all the time, it's like it's a problem. And it don't even have to be your kids. It could be, your significant other. It could be whoever you work with or not work with, but they're in close proximity with you. Because I know my neighbor, his kids are now home from college. So everyone's routine is kind of changing. And there's a study that says that it takes 21 days to create a habit. 21 days. So you do something 21 consecutive times, it becomes a habit, and then a habit eventually becomes a stronghold. So a stronghold doesn't necessarily always have to do with evil things, because a stronghold is something that we hold strong to, that we brace to, that we repeat and we do because it helps keeps us routine and regular. So you can have a stronghold in the word of God, and you can have a stronghold in the world. So stronghold by itself, by definition, isn't a negative word. Many people use it as a negative word, but the point of what I'm trying to make is that it takes 21 days to form a habit. So now we have people complaining that we're not able to go to church right now, we're not able to do these things, we're not able to do these things, and the monotony, the routine. But the question that I want to ask you, why does this doesn't have to be your normal? You not praying, you not communing with God, you not studying, you not getting the word, that doesn't have to be your normal. And I just kind of felt, I just had a heavy heart on Sunday, because it was like, wow, I wonder how many people are falling into a new pattern because their routine, that was a worldly routine, which we all kind of need because we work, right? We live in the world. but it was a routine that they had. But now that routine has changed because that one routine has changed. We now change the other routine. Like I found myself listening to my service on Thursday for my home church because we usually have Bible study on Thursday. But I was listening to Bible study, but I was actually doing work. Now I am attentive. I am an auditory learner. So for me doing something and listening, I always do something and listen. So for me, that's not as big of a deal. But I just begin to realize that when I actually would go to church on Thursday, I would actually sit there and be attentive. I would be engaged. I would be taking notes. But now I'm multitasking. And for some reason, it just really jumped in my heart. It was like, wow, you might need to be a little bit more attentive. You might need to be a little more focused. You actually might need to make this a priority like you used to make it a priority. Just because you're not physically going to the building doesn't mean that you give it less reverence because it is still the presence in the Word of God. And I see like people hopping from feed to feed to feed to feed. And there's nothing wrong with that because people are like, now I have a buffet and I can eat from many different places. And truth be told, we always had a buffet. We always had the ability to eat from many different places. But right now, I really just want to encourage you that you pick a meal and eat all of the meal. Eat all of the meal because the meal that each person lays out has certain level of nutrients, a certain level of nutrient for you. So if I prepare a meal for my children, I try to make it balanced. Now, do my children eat a balanced meal all the time? No, they don't eat a balanced meal all the time, but my intent is to have a balanced meal. So my intent is to offer a fruit and a vegetable, to give them a meat and to give them some type of carbohydrate and also give them something to drink. What I don't want to happen, or what I pray doesn't happen to people in this season, that they keep going from message to message and all they are eating is carbohydrates. See, carbohydrates are good, but you can't have a balanced diet by just having carbohydrates. Even vegetables are good. And if you know how to manipulate the vegetables, you can get all the proteins and nutrients that you need. But most people prefer or prepare the vegetables that they like to eat. So most people don't go out of their way unless they are a vegetarian, unless they are a vegan. Most people don't go out of their way to have a myriad of vegetables on hand. What they do is they like broccoli, they have broccoli. They like carrots, they have carrots. They like green beans, they have green beans. So with every meal, they might have one or two vegetables, but they're not having a whole onslaught of vegetables. So what I just begin to sense, or I really just begin to feel, is that right now, because we have the ability to not be in one place at one time, we have the ability not to be in one place at one time. So now we can click on different streams, we can slide on different streams. And what I just kind of sense is that we're in a season where people are beginning to eat an unbalanced diet because my channel, I serve this type of meal. And if you stick and listen to the whole message, you will get all the nutrients that you need. And I'm a big proponent of having a balanced diet when it comes to the word. And I understand that some people, they minister one way, other people ministers another way. So you can get different things from different ministers. But what I'm concerned about is that some of us are only showing up for the dessert and not the meat. Some of us are only showing up for the biscuits and not the potatoes. It's as if we're eating at a buffet, but we are eating in such a wrong way that I think it could be negative to our health. I really want us to, in this season, not to allow what we consider or we say a new normal to become our new normal. That we don't dedicate the time that it takes to sit down and actually get the full message, to get the full meal. Because if you just stop and just get the dessert everywhere, I'm afraid that that is going to be detriment to your health. Hey, Tamika, I hope all is well. That's going to be detriment to your health if you don't get a balanced diet. So I don't want a new normal, a new precedence to be set that we don't actually take the time, that we don't take our time and sit down and give God the proper attention that God needs. because this is the season, in my opinion, that this is the time for us to take God a little more serious if we haven't been taking him serious. This is the season where we actually should now be a little more attentive to his voice and be a little bit more dedicated to the things of God, because you don't have the traffic to deal with anymore. Now you have to deal with your inner circle. And it's funny, people always says that God started family before he started ministry. Well, right now we're all stuck with our family, and some of us would rather do everything but spend time with our family, right? But the family should be the root of your ministry. Your family should be a place for you to be able to throw out ideas, for you to be able to talk. But right now, because we have a lot of opportunity to talk with our family, some of us might be wanting to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I know that's an old saying. But I just want to encourage you that this doesn't have to be your new normal. Don't allow it to become your normal, because like I said, I had a real heavy burden last Sunday that people are beginning to say, well, God, is this going to ever end? God, when is this going to change? God, when can I get out and go to the beach? When can I go out and do all of these things? And while we are thinking about all of those things, that we are not carving out time to keep the routine schedule that we had with God. I just began to think, like, wow, where's my day was going? Well, my day was going differently, because I used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Now I get up at 8:30. That's 4 hours a day that I don't have. Yeah, 4 hours of my day that I don't have. Now I go to bed a little bit later, but I used to get up and I would listen to the word on my way to work. That would be like an hour of me listening to the word. Did I take that out of my diet? Did I take the hour of listening to the word out of my diet? Am I putting it back in my diet? Because the life that I was living, this was the word that was fueling me and settling my mind. And then I would come home or I would listen to some word. So that was the thing that was in my diet. So that was the normal thing for my diet. So the normal thing for my diet was listening to the word in the morning, then listening to the word when I came home. So that was the part of my diet that kept me balanced. So what I want to tell you is to stay balanced to whatever your diet was. Whatever your diet was. So I'm not telling you to go to my diet. What I'm trying to tell you is that if your diet was getting up in the morning and praying and spending time with God and reading the word, don't develop a new normal that you stop reading the word and that you stop spending time with God. Because the diet that you have is the nutrients that sustains your body, because everybody needs calories. Everybody needs calories. And everybody that is a Christian or a believer in God or whatever you believe in needs to sustain a certain level of eating based on the call that God has for your life. Because the battles and the struggles that are in your life is based on the thing that God has called you to carry. Because when your light comes on, now the enemy sees you. Now the enemy wants to attack you. And I'm afraid for some of us that the enemy can now take an advantage of us because we don't have the energy. I watched a show called Survivor, and many times these challenges come. So there's reward challenge and there's immunity challenge. And normally the team that won the reward challenge, and the reward challenge is usually a food challenge. So the food challenge, what it does is actually gives them fuel to fight harder for the immunity, because the other team is at a deficit because they haven't been eating. So because they haven't been eating, normally the team that won the reward challenge, because they got food, now has a little bit more fuel to fight harder than the team that didn't have food. So what I don't want to happen is that in this season of our life, because we keep hearing the word new normal, and I've even said the word new normal, that we go back to our old normal when it comes to God. Go back to whatever got you where you were in God. So if that was getting up and praying, if that was getting up, taking an hour with God, if that was taking your lunch break with God, this is not the season to develop a new normal with God. Don't get new on him. Go back to the old landmark. Go back to the old way. Go back to the thing that got you to the position and the muscles and the girth and the grip and the stand that you had with God. Because I'm afraid that some of us right now, we can lose our grip. We can lose our grip because we don't have the nutrients of the word that allows us to hold on to the plow. And the word says, don't take your hand off the plow, that if you put your hand on the plow, don't turn it back. So I want to encourage you, don't turn back. Don't develop a new normal. Go back to whatever that normal was. So that means that you get up and read an hour before you kids get up and read an hour, get up and worship for an hour, get up and pray, whatever it is. And I'm not saying it has to be an hour. The hour is just what I used to have to drive to work. So that was my time to collect my thoughts. That was my time to get with God. Because what I began to notice that I actually developed a new pattern. There was a time when this first started that I was getting up an hour and a half before my kids got up. So I would eat my breakfast. I would do whatever I needed to do. Now I'm like, look, their meeting is not till 9 o'clock. What am I getting up at 7:30 before? And then I discovered that, wow, I'm not getting up at 7 o'clock. I'm not getting up 7:30. I'm getting up at 8:30 because the meeting is only at 9 o'clock. So now my day has changed. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling rushed. And the only reason that I'm feeling rushed, the only reason that I feel this way is because I actually changed what was my pattern. When you read the word of God, you understand that God set up a pattern and God was very principled. And God wanted to have disciplined learners with him. He wanted to have disciplined learners, and the disciplined learners we call disciples. So they were disciples because they were disciplined. What I want to encourage you is not to develop a new normal, because I don't want you to develop a new diet, because your diet usually changes the output of your body and the energy level. Your diet changes how we view your body. So someone that has a nice clean diet, they usually look a little bit more muscular, because it's not the exercise that causes your muscles to pop out. It's usually the things that you eat. So in this season, I don't want your muscles not to be seen, your spiritual muscles not to be seen, because you are eating unhealthy. I don't need for you in this season to think that this is Golden Corral, that this is, just the big buffet, that I just stop at everybody's table and eat from everybody's table. Now, I'm not saying that you can't discover a new minister. I'm not saying that you can't discover a new ministry, because right now we're in a season that we're open up and that we're privy to ministries that we didn't have the opportunity to be privileged to. However, that doesn't neglect that if you used to eat from my table, that you stop eating from my table. That doesn't mean that I eat from Faith Life Center. That's my home church. That now I stop eating from Faith Life Center because Faith Life Center, there's another broadcast on Thursday. If Faith Life Center is what I used to go to and eat from on Thursdays, that means when they live stream on Thursdays, I need to go eat from Faith Life Center. My routine is that I used to eat in the morning from Apostle Bulby in the morning, because that was my routine. So now, because other people are broadcasting during the same time that he broadcasts, that doesn't mean I neglect his broadcast if that's the broadcast that I used to eat from. Because I'm afraid, what you understand is that your diet, right? Your digestive system, the ways your stomach handle things is based on your diet. If you've ever fast, right? If you ever fast, you have to be careful the foods that you begin to eat when you begin to break your fast. Because what happens is your stomach and your digestive system changes. So certain things could bind you up if you ate it after a fast. So what I'm trying to let you know, your digestive system may not be able or prepared to handle some of these messages that people are getting you. And again, I'm not telling you that you can't eat off of other people's table. That's not the point of this message. The point of this message is, don't get new on God. Don't get new on God. If you dedicated time to God in the morning, get up, dedicate that time to God, go back to bed, and then get up and handle what you need to do. If you dedicated God time during your lunch hour, still dedicate that time to God during your lunch hour. If you dedicated time to God on a Thursday night, a Wednesday night, or Tuesday night, still give that time to God. Because what I sense and what I feel is that, and I don't know when the show comes on, but I'm going to just go back to Survivor. So let's just say Thursday night is the time that I go to church. But now Survivor comes on Thursdays. It shouldn't be a question, do I watch Survivor or do I watch my pastor? If in the old season and going to church Thursday at Faith Life Center was sustaining me, that means in this season, I can take Survivor. I don't start watching Survivor during the time of my broadcast. I don't do that because Thursday was the day that I used to set aside. The day that I used to set aside and dying from my man of God, dying from my pastor. So now, because we have so much time on our hand, now we're looking for new things to watch. We're looking for new shows to watch. And what I'm afraid of is that we're going to have a whole body of believers that are now fat spiritually. Yeah, you're fat spiritually because you're not going to the gym. You're not eating nutritious. You used to watch, you used to go to church on Thursday. Now you're watching, The Last Dance. The Last Dance is the new Michael Jordan series. It was really good. It was really good. That was a sidebar. Listen, so you're in the middle of watching Last Dance, or you're in the middle of watching Ozark, or you're in the middle of watching Blindside, or you're in the middle of watching Criminal Minds, or you're in the middle of watching Orange is the New Black. And what is happening is you're not feeding your body the food that is necessary. So what I want you to do in this season, this is not the season to get new on God. God is not calling us to develop a new normal at his peril, at his loss. God is not looking for you to develop a new normal. So if Thursday is the old normal that you will spend with God, that is not the season to start saying, I'm going to binge watch, Blind Spot. Yeah, I haven't watched this movie. I need to catch up on that. This is not the day to now watch All Rise. If Sunday between the hours of 11 and 2, if that was the time that you used to dedicate to God, I want to admonish you to dedicate that time to God. Because if you develop a new normal in this season that is not spiritual, how hard is it going to get back for you to get into condition? So I was listening to Chris Paul, and he was talking about the NBA season. So right now, the NBA season is canceled. And he said that if we started the season, we would actually have to give the players at least 4 weeks to get their body in shape so that they could actually play in the season. Because the places that they used to work out, the nutrients that they used to have, and the environment that they used to be in is changed. And because the environment that they used to be in has changed, they are not the level of athletes that they once were. So for them to get ready for the games, they would actually have to have an off season again to prepare for the new season. What I want you to know is that God is not quarantined. Heaven is not on FMLA. God is not furloughed, and the enemy sure is not furloughed. The enemy is still coming at you. The enemy is still preparing his devices. The enemy is still forming whatever attack that he was forming. What I want you to do is not get a new normal, oh God. Listen, if the NBA players, elite athletes that could do all kind of feats, they're not training the way they used to train. So guess what? They're not prepared to play in the game. Well, the devil doesn't stop coming after you. So if you stop preparing the way that you used to prepare, then the enemy could get an advantage over you. The enemy can get advantage over you. Don't get comfortable in this temporary situation, because this is not the season to stop reading your word. This is not the season to stop getting up in the morning. This is not the season to stop planning. This is not the season to stop preparing. Some of you think that this is going to last forever. Listen, if you break your routine with God, how hard will it be to pick the routine back up when life starts happening again? Remember, I told you it takes 21 days to form a habit. And my kids been out of school for longer than 21 days. They've been out of school longer than that. And what I'm afraid is that some of us believers, we're going to pick up a habit that is going to be so hard to break that when life starts happening, we're not going to know how to be still and eat the word like we used to eat. We're going to think that, yeah, I'm a word surf today. Sunday, I'm going to word surf. I'm going to word surf on Sunday. And I found myself guilty of it surfing. And some of the people that used to feed me are not feeding me because now there's other people. That's what the Bible calls itching ears. Yeah, during this season, it's very easy to develop itching ears because now you know that there are other things available to you. Yeah, there's other things vying for your attention because you are now giving them the opportunity to get your attention. What I want you to do is stay focused. Stay focused. Stay focused. Stay focused. Don't allow the other things that are there that are available. So I'm not saying, because God knows I'm not getting up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm not getting up at 4:30 in the morning. But as I got up this morning, I actually got up an hour before my children got up because I was like, wow, my day goes so fast. And by the time I get done with all the stuff with my kids, I'm worn out. And then it's like, I need some time to myself to do some things that I love. And God said, well, the reason why you had time to do the things that you love because you would get up at 4:30 in the morning. You had all this time before your kids even got up. But you're not getting up spending any time with me. So now, during the work hours, when you used to be at work, now you're spending those hours with your children as a good parent should, right? So I'm not saying to neglect your children, but what's happening is because we have gotten so comfortable with not getting up to alarm clock that we are now not setting the clock for God. Yeah, because there was a time that I would be regimented in the things of God, and I would get up and I would pray and I would read and I would listen to music and I would worship. But now I feel is that some of us believers, the reason why I see these posts of people saying, I don't feel good, I don't feel comfortable, this doesn't feel right, it's because you're not eating the same diet that you used to eat. Whatever thing that if getting a notepad and writing down and spending time with God and taking notes, or when God would give you downloads and ideas, if that's what you used to do, you need to go back to doing that. God doesn't want you to break his normal. Just because your worldly normal has changed doesn't mean that God's normal for you should change. So if you eat from your pastor twice a week, continue to eat from your pastor twice a week. If you come to my channel on Thursday and eat, continue to come to my channel on Thursday to eat. If you eat from Altavis in the morning, continue to eat from Altavis in the morning. Because listen, God has put the answer to some of your problems in my mouth. The people that God has called me to minister to speak into, the answer to your problem is in my mouth. So there are solutions that God has placed in my mouth. And like I told you in the beginning of the story, the guy was on the roof and the helicopter came and he said that God was going to save me. And when he got with God, he's like, God, why didn't you save me? God, why didn't you help me? And God was like, I sent help. I sent helicopter. I sent a rescue team. I sent a forecast, but you refused to receive the help. Listen, this is not the season to develop a new normal with God. This is the season to become more disciplined in your walk with God. And if that means you put on your calendar, spend time with God in the morning, put it on your calendar and spend time with God in the morning. Because, like I said, people's who muscles who's pops, when you see those fitness athletes, the reason why they look so good and their muscles are so defined, it's because of their diet. The reason why some of you were so strong and the reason why some of you was full of so much hope, the reason why some of you had so much power, the reason why the anointing of God was so strong on some of you is because you were staying in God's face. You were staying in God's face. The reason why ideas was flowing in your heart because you kept your notepad and you kept writing. The reason why you had so much joy and peace is because you spent your lunch hour and you were getting God's presence and you were put on music. The reason why some of you had so much going on in your life is because you were taking the time to spend time with God. You were already positioned. Don't move out of position because others have become displaced. My God, that's a word. Because others have become displaced, don't allow yourself to be displaced. Because other people are changing their routine, it's not the time for us to change our routine. Don't flip the script. Don't flip the script on God. Because, like I said, if you want those muscles to show, you got to eat the same way that you were eating. You got to be as regimented, if not more regimented. Because right now, this is a season that we're getting a lot of information that has a lot of calories, but has no nutrient. Yes, have a lot of calories that have no nutrient. Yes, it's okay that Babyface and Teddy Riley was battling on Instagram. But if Babyface and Teddy Riley are battling on Instagram, you can catch the replay if it's the time for you to get the word of God from your man and woman of God. Don't, because Teddy Riley and Babyface, they're not providing any spiritual nutrients to you. And what I want to let you know, there will be another battle that won't provide any spiritual nutrients for you. And what you will have is a whole lot of sugar, but no protein, no fiber. no vitamin D, no vitamin C, no iron. These are the things that help you digest the sugar. So some of us has developed a new routine, and I don't want you to develop a new normal. God's saying go back to the old way. If that means you got to get up to an alarm clock, by golly, get up to an alarm clock. Get up before your kids get up, or stay up later after you put your kids to bed. But you need to stop eating differently. Because if you eat differently, your muscles are going to show differently. Your faith is going to speak differently. The words that you say are going to be different because you're not regimented in the things of God. You got to maintain your discipline. You got to maintain your discipline. So, like I said, the pro athletes, they're saying we can't just start the season back. So what happens when you go back to your job? What happens when this season ends? The devil, your enemy, your adversary, he ain't on vacation. He's probably more regimented. He's probably more diligent. He's probably trying to form more weapons because he's like, I see their guard down. Because see, when your guard down, you can get punched in the face. When your guard down, you can get hit. You can get hit with your guard down because your reflexes show when you ain't been in the gym. Your reflexes slow down. So you like Mayweather, he slips and moves. He dodges all the punches. So even though the enemy is throwing the punches, his guards up, he slipped that punch and he slipped that punch and he moved from that punch. But what happens? We ain't been in the gym. We ain't been in the gym. You ain't fast, so the enemy has been forming the devices, and now he's throwing a knockout punch. Now you're equilibrium. Now you're all off balance. You don't got no legs because you don't have stamina to fight. The enemy is still fighting you. The enemy is not in an off season. So as a believer, we can't be in an off season. This is not our season of off season. This actually is our on season. Yeah, this is our on season. This is our season to be on our knees. This is our season to be on top of the word. This is the season for us to be on top of the words that we speak. This is the season for us to be on top of the things that we see. This is the season to be on top of the things that we hear, because this is not the season to have these high caloric things coming into our eye gate and our ear gate. This is not the season to contaminate your ear gate and your eye gate with a whole bunch of candy. This is not the season. So I want to tell you, this doesn't have to be your new normal. You're not spending with God doesn't have to be your new normal. You're not praying doesn't have to be your new normal. You're not, listen, some of you need to get and praise God. Some of you need that music because I listen to the song Something Gotta Break. I'm telling you, that song is fire. Something has to break. But some of us should go every Sunday and that's the music would minister us and something would break off of us. Well, why can't you go in your living room and in your bedroom, in your bathroom, wherever, and still spend that time worshiping with God? Why can't you spend the time in your kitchen worshiping with God? And I'm not saying that you're not doing that. I'm not claiming that you're not doing that. But I just want to remind you to keep doing it. Don't stop doing it. Keep doing it, whatever it was. Don't develop a new normal on God. Because I'm afraid that if you develop a new normal on God, it's going to take you weeks and weeks and weeks to get back in shape, ready to fight. See, the devil is not stopping fighting. The enemy is still firing darts at you. He's never going to stop firing darts at you until you take your last breath. Until you take your last breath, he's going to pursue you with all his might. He wants to sift you as wheat. He wants to cut you down. So what he's hoping is that you develop a new normal in this season. What he wants you to do is not be prepared. He wants you to no longer to be prepared to use the weapons. He don't want you to be prepared to use the weapons. He wants you to forget how to fight. He wants you to go to battle with your guards down. Because if you go to battle with your guards down, you can get hit. If you don't stay pushing iron, pushing the weight, 45 pounds can be heavy to you. You got to keep pushing weight. You got to keep pushing this word. You got to keep pushing your gift. You got to keep plying because you got to keep resisting the enemy, right? Okay. Don't allow the enemy I wish I had a baby to rock you to sleep. See, what I think in this season right now, some of us, the enemy is just rocking us to sleep. Oh, lullaby, go to sleep. Go to sleep, God's children. The economy is stopped. Go to sleep, God's children. You don't have to go work. Go to sleep, God's children. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Everyone has access to the word. Go to sleep, God's children. You don't you don't have to go to church. You don't have to get dressed up today. Go to sleep, God's children. You don't gotta wash your face today. Go to sleep, God's children. You don't have to let your light shine today. Go to sleep, God's children. God's saying, wake up. This is not the time to sleep. This is not the time to let the enemy lull you to sleep. You still prepare as if there's a million people that God has called you to reach. If God has called you to reach the people in a way, still reach the people, still get dressed, still give it the level of attention that God has called you to give it the level of attention. Comb your hair, brush your teeth, wash your face, bathe yourself, put some clothes on. You're still in the fight. Stop allowing the enemy to lull you to sleep. Because I feel the enemy just rocking some of us. And that's why the feeling of despair, that's why the feeling of hopelessness is there, because he's rocking us to sleep. He got you in his arms saying, oh God don't love you, because if God loved you, you wouldn't be stuck in the house. If God loved you, you wouldn't have to wear a mask. If God loved you, you could go to the beach. If God really loved you, you could just go to the grocery store. If God loved you, you could sit in a restaurant. If God loves you because you got breath in your body. God loves you because you can see. God loves you because you can still hear. God still loves you. Don't allow the enemy to lull you to sleep. Because I'm afraid that if he lulls you to sleep, when he sins, when he comes like a roaring lion, you won't be prepared to fight. You won't. Now, I'm going to tell on myself, right? I'm going to tell on myself. Listen, have you ever sat down and you put your leg underneath your other leg, like when you're watching TV, and your foot falls asleep? And your foot falls asleep, then you have to get up, but you can't walk because your foot is asleep. It's like pins and needles. I know I'm not the only person who's been sitting on the couch and your foot was in a weird way underneath you and your foot fell asleep. And then it's like, man, I want to get something to drink. And it takes you like forever to get over there to get something to drink because your foot is asleep. Because when your foot is asleep, your brain is active, right? Your brain is active. Your brain is saying, okay, man, I'm going to get some drink. I'm just going over here real fast. But your foot is asleep. And because your foot is asleep, you can't react the same way. So what I sense right now is that the enemy, he's not killing us quickly. He's killing us softly. He's killing us softly. So what he wants us to do is position ourselves that our foot falls asleep. And because our foot is asleep, we're not as attentive. We can't get up as fast as we used to. We can't react as quick as we used to. We can't recall the scripture like we used to. We can't praise and break out like we used to because our foot is asleep. So even though in our mind we want to go and get something to drink, your foot is asleep. And I'm telling you, when your foot is asleep, you're trying to stand, but you can't stand because your foot is asleep. So even though the rest of your body is awake, that part of your body is asleep. And because that part of your body is asleep, you can't react the same way that you used to react. Don't allow the enemy to put your foot asleep. Don't allow the enemy to put your hands asleep. Because when your hands or feet are asleep, you can't move the way that God has intended you to move. This is not the season to get new on God. This is the season to dig deeper, to dig deeper, to dig deeper, to go harder, to seek after him, to become more disciplined, become more regiment, to pray more, to praise more, to study more. You got time on your hand. But what the enemy wants to do is let you think that I ran out of shows, so I got to get a new show. I done watched all these shows. I got to get a new show. You can never exhaust the word of God. This will never go old. It's an in season and out of season. It'll never grow old. There's always a new revelation. God is still revealing. It's like an onion. The more you peel it back, the more it unfolds to you. This is not the season to develop a new normal. So I go to church. And remember, I told you that we are the church. We are the church. So I go to church and I dive in my word and I read my word and I put my word on because I don't want to develop a new normal in this season. Because the new normal that you develop in this season could make your foot asleep. And God forbid if a pit bull was trying to chase you and your foot was asleep. If a pit bull is trying to chase you and your foot is asleep, man, I wish I had a camera to take that because that would be funny. Now I don't want you to get bit, but just imagine trying to run from a dog and your foot is asleep. That would be funny. That would be really, really funny. Man, you would be limping. You would be some of us be hopping on one leg trying to get away from that dog. Because when your foot is asleep, right, you can't put any pressure on it. I remember there were some nights I would be laying on my pillow and my arm fell asleep. Man, my arm be asleep, and I'd be wanting to try to move my arm, but I can't move the arm. I want to get up, but I can't. I can't put any pressure on the arm because my hand is asleep. So even though I want to get out of bed, I can't put any pressure on my arm because the way I was laying, it put my arm to sleep. So even when I wanted to get up and run, even when I want to get up and fight, my head is asleep. This is the time that you should not be sleeping on God. Don't allow the enemy to rock you to sleep. Don't allow him to rock you to sleep. Don't allow him to rock you to sleep. This is not the time. Apostle Pender, you're going to get caught. You're going to get caught. I remember there was times like my foot fell asleep and I had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and I got to get up and go to the bathroom. My foot's asleep. I'm like, Lord, why does my bathroom got to be so far away? I'm like, this is a far walk to get to this bathroom, bro. This is a far walk. When your foot is asleep, man, it's pins and needles. It is. It's not funny because it's funny in the natural, but it's not funny in the spiritual. This is not the season to develop a new normal. It's not the season. It's not the season. Now I want to read something to you. I'm gonna be. Let me see how many minutes I got. 46 minutes. So I just want to read something to you real fast. Okay. Daniel had an excellent spirit. And because Daniel had an excellent spirit, he didn't develop a new normal. He didn't develop a new normal. So just because they say that we need to be socially distant, and the new normal is that we can't have large gatherings, it does not mean this is the season for you not to spend time with God. Because if you develop a new normal because they have changed laws. See, some of us say because we are believers that we need to develop a law, we need to abide by the law. And that is partially true. And people will tell you about, and I've even said it how like they had to stay in when the death angel was coming. But if it's an unjust law that gets written, because remember, Jesus was fighting the Sanhedrin. Jesus was fighting the Sadducees and the Pharisees. They had unjust laws. Remember, they told him not to heal on the Sabbath. And they tried to say, who you think you are healing a woman on the Sabbath? See, there is a law, but then there is a higher law. So never forget that there is a higher law. So just because the world establishes a law, don't mean that we disengage from the laws and the principles of God. So I'm not saying not to use wisdom, but don't come at me that there is a law, because what if there is a law that they write to say you can't read your Bible? You gonna stop reading your Bible, right? So let me just give you this. Daniel chapter 6. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom, and over 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was first, that the princes might give account unto them, and the king should have no damage. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and the princes, because an excellent spirit was in him. And the king thought to set him over the whole realm. Then the president and princes sought to find occasions against Daniel concerning the kingdom. But they could find none occasion nor fault, for as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. Verse 5. Then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. So they couldn't find any fault with Daniel. But they said, we might can use that he loves his God so much against him, is the moral of the story, okay? So verse 6, then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king and said thus unto him, King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom, the governors and the princes and the counselors and the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask the petition of any god or any man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions. So now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing that it be not changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altered not. Wherefore King Darius signed the writing and decree. So just imagine, they already said, we can't gather together greater than 10 in some places because we want to stop the spread of this virus. And just listen to me. So what if they say we want to stop the spread of the gospel? And they write a law, you can no longer broadcast on these internet streets. You can no longer talk about God because they couldn't find anything against Daniel because Daniel had a perfect spirit. Daniel operated in the experience of excellency. But what if they write a law that says we are no longer allowed to pray to our God? We are no longer allowed to expound upon the goodness of Jesus. Will you obey that law? So be very careful the laws that you pick and choose to obey, because in this case, the king wrote a law because the people didn't like that Daniel loved his God so much. People didn't like that Daniel obeyed his God so much. And we might say that this is never going to happen. Remember the baker that refused to bake a cake for someone because he says, I don't believe in your definition of marriage. They took that man to court to try to make the baker bake a cake, even though it went against the laws of his God. So don't tell me that this can't happen in our land. So I just want to let you know, get off your high horses about obeying laws. And I get, we should obey the laws of the land if they don't go against the laws of our God. So just listen. Verse number 10. Now, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and in his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he did aforetime. Did you catch it? Did you catch it? The whole point of what I was saying was right here in this verse. I'm going to read it again. I'm going to say it slow. Verse number 10. Now, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, so he knows that a new normal has just been written. A new normal was written into law. Daniel knows that a new normal has been written in the law. He went into his house. He went back to the place where he used to go to church, right? The place that he used to commune with God. He went back to that place. And his windows being open in his chamber towards Jerusalem. Now you would think that Daniel knew that a new law had been written. And that law said that you couldn't commune with your God that you believed in. You would think that Daniel saying the windows open, that he would have shut them. That he would have shut the windows because he wouldn't want anybody to hear him. He kneeled upon his knees 3 times, not one time. So not one, not 2, but 3 times with the window open. It was like, dude, I'm not getting new on God. I wish you would catch me praying. I'm not shutting my windows. I'm not going to just pray one time and say, This is the one time I'm gonna sneak away, and hopefully I don't get caught this time. Daniel got on his knees, had the windows open, and prayed 3 times, and gave thanks before his God as he did a 4 time. A 4 time, meaning that was his old normal, and he was refusing to develop a new normal. Don't develop a new normal. Apostle Pender, you would have thought he would at least shut the windows. You feel me? But he was like, I don't really care what y'all got to say against my God. I don't really care that you touched down the church building. That is not going to stop me from going to church. I don't care that I can't get together during my Thursday service like I used to. That is not going to stop me from giving an attentive ear to God during the hours that I used to give God an attentive ear. Don't develop a new normal. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying, making supplication before his God. They found Daniel. It wasn't hard to find Daniel. Why wasn't it hard to find Daniel? Because Daniel was in the same spot that he always was, praying the same way that he always prayed. So my question, is it hard for God to find you? Can God still hear you praying the same way that you used to pray before the season started? Can God find you trying to seek his face the same way that you used to seek his face before the season started? Can God find you at the same time that you used to sit down and commune with him? Can he find you? God could find Daniel in the same place regardless of what was going on around him. So I want to encourage you to be in the same place that God has called you to be. You won't have the same level of stamina and the same level of muscles that you need in this season if you put God in the wrong place. If you put God in the back burner and you put everything else on the front burner, your foot will be asleep when the enemy comes chasing you. Woe unto you whose foot is asleep. I'm sorry I had to do it. Woe unto you whose foot is asleep. Verse number 12. Then they came near and spake before the king concerning the king decree. Hast thou not signed a decree that every man that shall ask the petition of any god or man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions? The king answered and said, the thing is true, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, without alteration not. Then answered they and said before the king, that Daniel, which is of the children of the captivity of Judah, regardeth not thee, O king, nor the decree that thou hast signed, but maketh his petition 3 times a day. Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. When I heard this morning, right, it was amazing. When you have an excellent spirit and an excellent way, even when your enemies comes after you as a child of God, God honors his children and protects his children. So listen to this verse again. This was so powerful. And I might not be giving it the justice that it needs, but just listen. So Daniel chapter 6, verse number 14. Then the king, when he heard these words, what were the words? The words that he's heard was the people coming saying, King, you signed a decree that no one could worship a God for 30 days other than you, right? The king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself. So he recognized that the law that I wrote is affecting the men of God. And he set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. So here's somebody that's in a position of authority, recognizing that an unjust law has been written. And he sets his heart to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. So he's thinking in his mind, okay, I passed the law that is affecting the men and women of God. In this case, the manservant Daniel. I got to honor the law, but how do I get this right? Now, you may say, well, it don't sound like he ever got it right because he threw him in the den. But just listen to the word. Verse number 15. Then these men assembled unto the king and said unto the king, know, O king, that the law of the Medes and Persian is that no decree nor statute which the king established may be changed. Verse 16. Just catch it. Listen. Then the king commanded, and they brought David and cast him into the den of lions. Catch it. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, thy God, whom thy servest continually, he will deliver thee. The king prophesied over Daniel. Did you catch it? Did you catch it? Verse number 16, I'll read it again. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, thy God, whom thou servest, because he knew who Daniel served, continually he will deliver thee. So he spoke a word. Some of us need to say something to something for something to happen. What I want to let you know is that even though laws have been written, even though things may be getting changed, keep your excellent spirit, because when you keep your excellent spirit, God will put people in position to speak a word over your life that will save you. Yes. Remember, as I told you at the beginning of the story, the media came to the man and said the rain was coming. A guy in a boat came and said, look, the rain is coming. A helicopter came and said the storm is here. God will put people in position to save the men and women of God. So even though a law was established, even though King Darius wrote the law and King Darius understood that he wrote the law, he couldn't change the law. King Darius spoke out of his mouth on behalf of the man of God, saying, look, this is what I got to do, but know that the God you serve, I'm prophesying in your life. I'm speaking into your life. So God, thank you for the people that are empowered that you have called to speak into our life. Thank you for the hedge of protection and the words that are going out of the enemy's mouth that you're going to allow to save me because of my chase conduct, because that I'm not getting new on you, God, because I'm staying faithful to you, God, because I'm still seeking after you, God, because I'm still praying. So when others are shut in, God, I understand that I'm not shut out. So even though they may have set laws to be socially distant, God, I will not be distant from you. Even though they're testing our heart, God, I'm gonna pass this test. Even if it costs me my life, God, I'm still gonna study this word. Even if they make an unjust law that say that I can't dance, God, I still will dance before you. Even if they declare a law that says I can't pray, God, I still will pray before you. Even if they say that I can't do something, I'm gonna go out of my house and do what thus saith the Lord. God, I won't get new on you. Who's out there that won't get new on God? Say, I won't get new on you. I will not get new on God, regardless of what they said, regardless of the decree, regardless if they say I got to get distant. I won't get new on God. I'm going to be at the same spot, at the same place, at the same time that God called me before. So if this is the hour that I carved out for God, I still will get on here and speak for God, because this is the time that I carved out for God. I will not get new on God. Daniel didn't get new on God. They found Daniel praying in the same spot that Daniel was praying at before, a fourth time. This is not the season to get new on God. So if you got up in the morning and pray to God, get up in the morning and pray for God. How do you know that God is not delivering a word for you in this season? How do you know that God is not delivering a rhema word for you? How do you know that God doesn't have a package for you? Will you be like the man that was in the building and don't get the saving message that God has for you when God is ready to deliver it? Because when God delivers his word, he delivers it to a place at a set point, at a set time. Don't get new, because getting new can cause you to miss your deliverance. God, thank you for the King Darius that are in my corner. Thank you for the King Dariuses that are in Apostle Pendle's corner. Thank you for the King Dariuses that are in Venus's corner. Thank you for the King Dariuses that are in Altavisa's corner. Thank you for the King Dariuses that is in Erica's corner. Thank you for the King Dariuses that are in Diana's corner. Thank you for the King Dariuses that are in Court's corner. Thank you for the King Dariuses that are in everybody's corner that came on this live now or later. God, I thank you that you always have a hedge of protection. God, I thank you that you will use the enemy to speak a word in my season. God, I thank you that they will speak a word because God says that he never seen his kids go without. So God, I thank you for the people that you call to speak protection over my life. So the kings prophesied over Daniel. The king did. So even though Daniel was in disagreement with the law, God still allowed the man to be used by him and speak a word for the man servant of God. So even though you may not like the president, that don't mean that God doesn't have the power to change the president's opinion. Even though you might not like the senators in the Congress, it doesn't mean that God can't change their hearts. It doesn't mean that God can't call somebody to write a law or speak a word or make a decree that could save my life. Don't mean that God can't do that. So verse number 17, and a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den. And the king sealed it with his own signet and with the signet of his lords, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. Then the king went to his palace and passed the night. Listen, look at here. Look at here, look at here, look at here. Look at here, look at here. Listen, the king passed the law, but let me tell you what the king did. Now, the king didn't serve Daniel's God, right? The king didn't serve Daniel's God. The king went to his palace and passed the night fasting. The king wasn't fasting. Neither were there instrument of music brought before him, and he slept and went for him. So the king decreed a word. Then the king went and fasted. Even though the king is the reason why he's in prison in the first place, because the king wrote the decree. So what does that got to do with this season? I will allow God to use whoever he needs to use to change the hearts and minds of the people concerning me. So if the God needs to use the president, the senators, or the congressman, because he couldn't sleep at night. So his routine, listen, the king's routine was interrupted. The king went to his palace and passed the night fasting, meaning he went without. Not only did he fast, he no longer allowed the people to play music in his presence. He went without. So because Daniel was so upright, it bothered the king that there was an unjust law. Daniel was so upright that the king spoke a word over his life. But not only did the king speak a word over his life, the king went and fasted himself. The king went and fasted. Listen, verse 19. Then the king arose very early in the morning and went and hastened to the den of the lions. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said to Daniel, O God, whom thou servest continually, able to deliver thee from the lions. He went down there because he was like, look, bro, I fasted all night. I declared that. I already said out of my mouth. See, the people didn't hear what the king said. The king said in verse 16, Daniel, thy God, whom serveth continually, he will deliver thee. The king said that. The king declared that out of his mouth. The king declared that out of his mouth. He had to get to the place where he went back. He fasted. Because he was like, look, man, Daniel can't die. I done decreed the thing. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spoke and said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God whom thou servest continually able to deliver thee from the lions? So basically he's saying, because he didn't see Daniel. He's speaking, but he's speaking like, "Are you there, Daniel?" Because in his heart, he wanted Daniel to be there. Then said Daniel unto the king, "O king, live forever. My God hath sent his angel, and have shut the lion's mouth, that they have not hurt me, forasmuch as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt." Then was the king exceedingly glad for him, and commanded that they should take Daniel out of the den. So Daniel was taken out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his God. And the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel. They cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, and their wives, and the lions had their mastery of them, and break all their bones in pieces, or ever they came at the bottom of the den. Verse number 25. The king Darius wrote unto all people, nations, and languages that dwelt in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, and steadfast forever in his kingdom, that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even until the end. So the king wrote a new decree. He wrote a new decree. He wrote a new decree. And the only reason that the king wrote a new decree is because Daniel didn't get new. Daniel did not get new. Don't develop a new normal in this season. As I read to you in this passage, there was a decree that for 30 days, they wanted them to change their routine. So right now, there was a decree in our land to change our routines. There is a decree in the land right now to change our routines. For some, it's May 15th. For some, it's a little longer. But just like in Daniel's day, there was a decree to change what the norm was. Daniel met God in the same place at the same time that he used to. So I want to challenge you to meet God in the same place at the same times that you used to. Don't take an unhealthy spiritual approach to your diet. Listen to messages in their totality. Because people that deliver messages, they serve a complete meal for you. And it's for you to digest all of the meal. So don't just eat the dessert. Don't just eat the biscuits. Eat the whole meal. Eat the whole meal. And if Rocco Pender was a place that you used to eat and dine at, please eat off of her table. Because the food that she was serving spiritually is why you are where you were. If I'm a person that you used to eat from, please continue to eat off of my table. If Apostle Bobian is a place that you used to eat, please eat there. My pastor is Ray Smith, Faith Life Center. That's where I eat on Thursdays and Sundays. So guess what? I eat there. I'm still eating at the places spiritually that I used to eat with before the decree went out into the land. Because I understand by me being faithful to God, God can cause kings, presidents, senators, Congress to decree a word to protect me. Darius prophesied in Daniel's life. He spoke. He wasn't a prophet, but he prophesied. He spoke a thing. Now, when he went into the lion's den and he spoke again, saying that question, he wasn't a full-fledged believer. So he fasted, he prophesied, he fasted. Then he got up first thing in the morning to see if what he wanted to happen was going to happen, even though he declared the law. So I just believe that in this season of social distancing, in this season when new normals are being established, as a body believer, God wants us to stay with his normal.